The neon lights of the rusty comet flickered in rhythm with the bass from the old music player. Smoke hung thick in the air, mixing with the smell of cheap alcohol and fried food. Men and women from a dozen different worlds sat at tables laughing, arguing, gambling. This was New Haven, a frontier colony where questions weren't asked and pasts stayed buried. The door opened. Nobody paid attention at first. Doors opened all the time in bars like this. Then the music stopped. Raina stood in the doorway, her scaled hand resting on the frame. She was tall, nearly 6.5 feet, with skin that shimmered between bronze and emerald under the lights. Her eyes glowed amber, pupils slitted like a predator, but her face was unsettlingly human, beautiful even, if you could get past the scales that ran down her cheeks like tears frozen in gemstone. She wore a long coat that had seen better days. Beneath it, armor plates covered her chest and shoulders, scratched from 100 fights. At her hip hung a curved blade in a worn scabbard. "Which one of you is my father?" Her voice carried across the silent room, sharp as broken glass. Nobody moved. 50 pairs of eyes stared at the half-breed standing in their bar. Some looked curious, others disgusted. A few looked afraid. Raina's hand moved to her blade. The weapon sang as it cleared the scabbard, the metal reflecting the neon lights in rainbow patterns. It was beautiful work, clearly alien-made with symbols etched along the curved edge. My mother's name was Shikara. She was Cathara, dragonkin. Raina took a step forward. 30 years ago, she served on Talos 7 during the war. She met humans there. One of you gave her this. She gestured at herself with the blade. "One of you made me." In the back corner, 5 old men sat at a round table. Their cards lay forgotten. They wore civilian clothes now. But anyone with eyes could see the military bearing they'd never quite lost. The way they sat, the way they watched the room, the scars that marked their hands and faces. The oldest one stood slowly. His hair was gray, his face lined with years, but his eyes were sharp and clear. "Put the blade down, girl." "Not until I get answers." Raina's voice didn't waver. "You'll get your answers, but not at sword point." The old man's voice was calm, steady, the voice of someone used to being obeyed. "My name is David Chen. I served on Talos 7. These men did too." He gestured at his companions. The man to his left stood next, shorter, broader, with skin weathered like old leather. Roger Takeshi, pilot. A thin man with kind eyes and careful hands. Hideo Yamamura, field medic. A stocky man with grease stains on his shirt. Luis Moreno, engineer. The last man rose, lean and quiet. Paul Fisher, scout. They faced her together, these 5 old veterans. None of them looked away from her inhuman eyes. Raina's blade didn't lower. She died without telling me which one. "The Cathara want me dead. They say I'm an abomination. I need to know where I come from before they find me." Behind the bar, a woman with silver-streaked hair watched the scene carefully. Ren had owned the rusty comet for 15 years. She'd seen fights, shootings, and twice she'd seen men actually die at her tables. But this was different. This felt bigger. David took a slow step forward. "I knew your mother." "We all did." "Then which one of you crawled into her bed?" Raina's words were harsh, angry. "Which one of you made a monster?" "You're not a monster." This came from Hideo, the medic. His voice was soft but firm. "Your mother was the bravest person I ever met. And whatever you are, you're not an abomination." The Cathara disagree. They've put a price on my head. Raina's hand trembled slightly on the sword. 3 million credits to whoever brings them my body. Dead only. They won't risk me breeding. Roger spat on the floor. Cathara traditionalists are idiots. Always have been. "That's easy for you to say," Raina shot back. "You're pure human. You fit." "I don't fit anywhere." David held up his hands. "Listen to me. The truth about your father, about your mother, about why you exist at all, it's complicated. It's going to take time to explain. I don't have time. There are hunters in the system. They'll track me here within hours. Then we'd better talk fast." David pulled out a chair. "Sit, please." For a long moment, Raina stood frozen. Then slowly she sheathed her blade. The room seemed to exhale. Conversations resumed, quietly at first, then louder. The music started again. Raina sat. The 5 old men settled around her. "Your mother," David began, "was assigned to Talos 7 as a junior diplomat. This was 30 years ago, early in the war. Both sides were losing too many soldiers. The politicians thought maybe talking would work better than shooting. How diplomatic of them," Raina said bitterly. I was there too. Young officer, assigned to translation duties. My Cathara was pretty good. David's eyes grew distant. She didn't trust humans at first. None of the Cathara did. They thought we were savages who'd stolen colony worlds that belonged to them. Were they wrong? David smiled sadly. Maybe not entirely, but we thought they were expansionist tyrants trying to crush younger races. Maybe we weren't wrong either. Truth usually sits in messy places. Get to the point. The point is, your mother and I spent 3 months in negotiations. We talked every day. Philosophy, religion, art, the nature of consciousness. She was brilliant, sharp as any blade. David paused. And she was beautiful. Not just physically. The way her mind worked, the way she questioned everything, refused to accept simple answers. Raina leaned forward. You fell in love with her. I cared for her deeply. Whether it was love, I don't know. We were young. We were in an impossible situation. David's voice roughened. There was one night. A meteor shower. Both delegations were outside watching. She and I walked away from the others, just to have space to think. We talked about whether peace was even possible, whether people like us who could see the other side as people mattered at all in the grand scheme of things. And Raina's eyes were locked on him. And for one night, we forgot about the war. We forgot about being enemies. David met her gaze steadily. 2 weeks later, the negotiations collapsed. A Cathara extremist group attacked a human settlement. We retaliated. The peace talks ended. Your mother was recalled. I never saw her again. Raina studied his face. She could see echoes of her own features there. The shape of the jaw, maybe. The way the eyes crinkled at the corners. You think you're my father. I thought it was possible, but I never knew she was pregnant. Never knew about you at all until you walked through that door. How convenient. Raina's voice turned cold. Any proof? David reached into his jacket slowly. He pulled out a small envelope, yellowed with age. After the war, I tried to find her. The Cathara weren't interested in cooperating, but I hired people to search. They found these being held by the Cathara military censors. Letters she'd written me. Never sent. He slid the envelope across the table. Raina opened it with careful claws. Inside were 3 sheets of paper, covered in elegant handwriting that shifted between human standard and Cathara script, her mother's handwriting. She recognized it from the one thing Shkara had left her. A journal half destroyed that told fragments of her mother's life. Tears she didn't want blurred Raina's vision. She blinked them away angrily. This doesn't prove anything. Just that you knew her. That she wrote to you. No, David agreed. It doesn't prove paternity. But it proves I cared. That she cared. That whatever happened between us mattered. Roger cleared his throat. There's more to the story, kid. David isn't telling you everything. David's jaw tightened. Roger, she deserves the truth. All of it. Roger looked at Raina. Your mother and I met too. Under different circumstances. 3 months after the peace talks failed. Raina's head snapped toward him. What? I think, Ren called from behind the bar, her voice cutting through the tension. You're all going to need drinks for this story. Behind the bar, Ren's hands moved to the comm system hidden beneath the counter. She pressed a button activating the communications jammer. It was illegal, expensive, and absolutely necessary. Outside, the first hunter ship entered orbit. The countdown had begun. Ren set 5 glasses on the table. The liquid inside was amber and strong, the kind of drink that burned going down and made truth-telling easier. She poured one for Raina too, though the hybrid girl hadn't asked. Roger picked up his glass and drained half of it in one swallow. His hands, scarred and steady, set the glass down with deliberate care. 3 months after David lost contact with your mother, I crashed on Talus 7. His voice was rough, worn by years of shouting over engine noise. My transport took a missile in the port engine. We were evacuating civilian researchers when the Cathara offensive pushed through our lines. Raina watched him carefully. Roger had the look of a man who'd spent his life in cockpits and maintenance bays. His fingers were stained with oil that no amount of scrubbing could ever fully remove. I managed to get my passengers off in escape pods before the ship went down. Aimed for the jungle zones, figured I'd have a better chance of surviving the crash there. Roger laughed bitterly. Survived the crash fine. Broke 3 ribs, dislocated my shoulder, and tore up my leg pretty bad, but I was alive. Cathara territory, David said quietly. Deep in it. I knew I was dead. The Cathara didn't take prisoners back then, not after what happened at Settlement 7. Roger's eyes went distant. I found a cave system. Managed to drag myself inside. Figured I'd at least die out of the rain. The bar noise faded as Roger's story pulled them back 3 decades. I woke up to someone pressing a blade against my throat. Dragonkin blade, I recognized the style. Thought that was it. Figured she'd finish me quick. Roger smiled, a real smile that transformed his weathered face. Instead, she asked me in broken human standard if I could walk. My mother. Reyna's voice was barely a whisper. Your mother. Shkara. She was on patrol alone. She'd seen my ship go down, tracked me to the caves. Roger refilled his glass. She should have killed me. Should have called in my position. Instead, she looked at my injuries and said, You will die if you stay here. They are hunting. Paul leaned forward. She saved your life. More than once. She hid me deeper in the cave system. In caverns her people used as supply caches. Brought me food, water, medicine stolen from Cathara military stores. My shoulder was infected. Without her, I would have died in 3 days. Reyna's claws scraped against the table. Why? Why would she help an enemy? Roger met her eyes. I asked her that. After the first week, when the fever broke and I could think clearly enough to form questions. She said, Because I have seen too much death. Because you have kind eyes. Because maybe if we stop killing each other one at a time, eventually there will be peace. The words hung in the smoky air. Around them, the bar carried on its business. Deals were made, drinks were poured, lies were told. But at this table, truth was emerging like something fragile and dangerous. 2 weeks I stayed in those caves. Longest 2 weeks of my life. Shkara would come every night after her patrols. She'd check my wounds, bring food, and we'd talk. Roger's voice softened. I taught her human songs. Stupid ones, really. Old folk songs my grandmother sang. She loved them. Said Cathara music was all about glory and battle. These were about rain and lost love and growing old. Hideo smiled. I remember you singing those songs. After you got back. She taught me Cathara hunting techniques. How to read tracks. How to move silently. How to find water by watching the way plants grew. Roger traced a pattern on the table with one finger. We weren't soldier and enemy anymore. We were just 2 people stuck underground trying to survive. You fell in love with her, Reyna said. It wasn't a question. Roger didn't answer right away. He finished his second glass and Ren poured him a third. Yeah, I did. Stupid, impossible, doomed love, but real. Roger pulled something from his pocket. A stone smooth and dark with symbols carved into its surface. She gave me this the night before I left. Said it was a hunting token, a sign of trust between Cathara warriors. He slid it across the table. Reyna picked it up with trembling fingers. Then she reached into her coat and pulled out an identical stone. My mother left me this. It was in the things they gave me when she died. The 2 stones lay side by side on the scarred table. Perfect matches. David leaned back in his chair, his face unreadable. You never told us. How could I? The war was still going. You'd have had me court-martialed for fraternizing with the enemy. Roger's jaw tightened. Besides, I thought she was dead. After I made it back to human lines, I tried to find information about her. Every source said she'd been executed for treason. For helping a human escape. She wasn't, Reyna said quietly. She lived for years after the war. Long enough to raise me until I was 5. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Roger's voice cracked. If I'd known she was alive, if I'd known about you, I would have found a way. Stolen a ship if I had to. Louis spoke up, his accent thick. The timing fits. 3 months after David. 2 weeks in the caves. She could have been pregnant when Roger left. She never told me. Roger looked at Reyna. That last night we knew I had to leave. My leg was healed enough to walk. She'd found a gap in the patrol routes. She said goodbye like she knew we'd never see each other again. Did you sleep with her? Reyna's question was blunt. Yes. Once. The night before I left. Roger met her gaze steadily. I'm not ashamed of it. I loved her. In that moment, in that place, it was the most real thing in my life. Reyna studied the 2 stones. Her stones. Evidence of a connection that had survived decades and death. So you think you're my father? I don't know. Maybe. The timing works, but so does David's timing. Roger spread his hands. I'm not trying to claim something that isn't mine. I'm just telling you what happened. Both of you loved her. Both of you could be my father. Reyna's laugh was harsh. This doesn't solve anything. Hideo cleared his throat softly. There's more you need to understand. About Cathara biology, about why your mere existence is impossible. Reyna turned to him. What do you mean? I mean that Cathara and humans can't produce offspring. Our genetics are too different. Our biology is completely incompatible. Hideo's voice was gentle but firm. You shouldn't exist, Reyna. The fact that you're sitting here is a miracle of medicine and determination. I don't understand. Your mother came to me, Hideo said, during the final days before the evacuation. She was pregnant, and it was killing her. Before Hideo could continue, the lights in the bar flickered. Ren cursed and dove for the comm system. We've got incoming, she shouted. 3 ships. Hunter configuration. They just pinged the surface looking for Cathara genetic signatures. Reyna was on her feet, blade drawn again. How long? They'll need to triangulate. Maybe an hour before they find us. Ren's fingers flew over controls. My jammer will buy us time, but not much. The bar erupted. Patrons grabbed weapons, locked doors, flipped tables for cover. This wasn't their first raid. David stood slowly. We're not giving her up. Damn right, Roger agreed. The other 3 veterans rose as one. Old men with old weapons, but the way they moved said the weapons were well maintained and they remembered how to use them. Reyna looked at them. These 5 humans who'd loved her mother. This isn't your fight. Like hell it isn't, Luis growled. Your mother saved Roger's life. You think we're going to let hunters take her daughter? Besides, Paul added quietly, we're not done with the story yet. You need to hear the rest. Ren threw a rifle to David. He caught it without looking, muscle memory from decades ago taking over. Everybody stay calm, David called out to the bar. We know the drill. Nobody does anything stupid. These are professional hunters. They want one target. They'll try to avoid collateral damage. Unless we make them mad, Roger said with a grim smile. Reyna sheathed her blade. If they come, I go with them. I won't let innocent people die for me. Nobody's dying today if I can help it, Ren said. And you're not going anywhere until you hear what Hideo has to say. Because trust me, kid, that's the part that changes everything. Through the window they could see lights in the sky, 3 ships descending through the atmosphere. Hunting. The hunter ships circled overhead like vultures. Through the grimy windows of the rusty comet, everyone could see their searchlights cutting through the darkness. Systematic, professional, patient. Hideo sat calmly at the table while chaos organized itself around him. Patrons checked weapons, secured exits, and prepared defensive positions. The old medic simply folded his hands and waited for the noise to die down. Sit, he said to Reyna. She remained standing, blade half drawn. They're hunting me. They won't find you for at least 30 minutes. Ren's jammer is military grade, stolen from a Navy depot during the Outer Rim conflicts. Hideo's voice was patient, the tone of a man who'd talked panicking patients through surgery. You have time, and you need to understand what you are before you decide what to do. Reyna sat, slowly. Hideo looked at the other veterans. You all remember the field hospital on Talos 7. Last month before evacuation, we were treating anyone who came through the doors, no questions asked. David nodded. You nearly got court-martialed for it. Treating enemy wounded. I took an oath, do no harm. It didn't specify species. Hideo smiled slightly. The Cathara figured that out eventually. Some of their soldiers started coming to us in secret, the ones who'd been injured in ways their own medics couldn't help with. Shkara brought them, Reyna said. Yes. Your mother ran a network, smuggling wounded Cathara to my hospital. She risked execution every time. Hideo's eyes grew distant. She was remarkable, brave beyond measure, and she trusted me, which was how I ended up in a situation no human doctor had ever faced before. He pulled a data pad from his coat, old technology, the kind that used physical storage instead of cloud networks. Harder to hack, impossible to trace. She came to me 8 months after David left Talos 7, 5 months after Roger escaped. Hideo activated the pad. Medical scans glowed on the screen. Alien biology rendered in blues and greens. She was 12 weeks pregnant. And she was dying. Reyna's breath caught. Dying how? Cathara biology and human biology are incompatible at the most fundamental level. Our proteins don't match. Our cellular structure is different. Our very chemistry is alien to each other. Hideo pulled up more scans. When a Cathara female conceives a hybrid child, her immune system recognizes it as a foreign invader. It attacks. Violently. He showed them images of tissue damage, cellular breakdown. Even without medical training, Reyna could see the destruction. She was being killed from the inside by her own body's attempt to protect her. The fetus, you were human enough that her biology couldn't accept you, but you were also Cathara enough that you couldn't be expelled naturally. So why didn't she abort? Reyna's voice was flat. She tried 3 times with Cathara methods. They didn't work. You were too stubborn to die. Hideo looked at her with something like wonder. She came to me because she'd heard humans could do medical things that Cathara couldn't. She asked me to save her baby. Not herself. She said if she had to choose, save the child. She said you represented something important. Hope, maybe, or proof that enemies could create life together instead of just death. David leaned forward. What did you do? Something insane. Something that should have killed them both. Hideo's hands moved across the data pad, pulling up treatment logs. I developed a protein therapy, used human genetic material as a baseline, Cathara cellular samples as a framework, and basically taught her immune system to recognize the fetus as part of her, instead of an invader. Roger whistled. That's not medicine. That's genetic engineering. It was both, and it was incredibly illegal under the treaties governing biological weapons. Hideo met their eyes. I could still be executed for what I did, by either side. But it worked, Reyna said. It worked. Barely. I had to treat her every week for 6 months. Each treatment was agony for her. Her body fought me every step of the way, but she never complained, never gave up. Hideo closed the data pad. The scans I took showed something fascinating. The fetus, you were adapting, taking genes from both species and creating something new, something that shouldn't be possible. That's not the important part, though, Luis interrupted. Tell her about the timing. Hideo nodded. Cathara females have a unique biological trait. When their body detects severe stress or danger, the reproductive system can enter a stasis state. Essentially, the pregnancy pauses, can last for weeks or even months. Reyna frowned. I don't understand what that means. It means your mother could have conceived you at any point over a 6-month period and the timing would still make sense. She could have gotten pregnant during her time with David. Then the pregnancy paused when the peace talks collapsed. Or she could have conceived with Roger. Then the stress of helping him escape triggered stasis. Hideo spread his hands. Based on my medical knowledge, either man could be your father. Or neither. The data doesn't give us a clear answer. You're saying I'll never know. Reyna's voice was hollow. I'm saying biology isn't going to give you a simple answer. Hideo's tone was gentle. But there's something more important you need to understand. The treatments I gave your mother, they changed you. Enhanced you. You're not just a hybrid. You're something unprecedented. He pulled up a genetic scan. Reyna's own DNA rendered in glowing strands. You have human reasoning, human creativity, human adaptability. But you also have Cathara strength, Cathara senses, Cathara regeneration. You're the best of both species. Hideo smiled. Your mother knew that. She told me once that you would be a bridge. Someone who could help both sides understand each other. The building shook. Outside, a hunter ship had landed. The searchlights went dark. They were coming on foot now. Ren cursed. They're moving faster than I expected, professionals. How many? David snapped into command mode like he'd never left the military. Sensors show 6. Heavy armor, military-grade weapons. They're setting up a perimeter. Ren pulled up a holographic display of the street outside. Red dots marked enemy positions. Roger checked his rifle. We're outnumbered and outgunned. When hasn't that been true? Paul said dryly. He was already moving to a window, setting up a firing position. Reyna stood. This is what I wanted to avoid. People dying for me. Sit down, David said. No, I'm going out there. I'll surrender. They'll take me and leave everyone else alone. They won't. Hideo's voice cut through her determination. They're not bounty hunters, Reyna. Look at the scan. Military formation. Military weapons. Those are Cathara Imperial cleaners. The room went cold. Cleaners don't take prisoners, Louis said quietly. They eliminate targets and any witnesses. They'll kill everyone in this bar, Paul added, just to make sure no one talks about seeing them. Reyna felt something dark and hot rise in her chest. Because I'm an embarrassment. A living reminder that Cathara and humans can create life together. You're a threat to their ideology of purity, Hideo agreed. And they'll murder 50 innocent people to erase that threat. David raised his rifle. Then we don't let them. 5 old men against 6 trained killers. Raina shook her head. The math doesn't work, Ren laughed. You're forgetting something, kid. This is a frontier bar. There are 27 people in here right now, and I guarantee at least 20 of them are armed and dangerous. She was right. Around the room, patrons had stopped pretending to be civilians. Weapons appeared from coat pockets and under tables. A woman by the bar racked a shotgun with practiced ease. 2 men near the pool table checked the charge on plasma pistols. We've all got things to hide, one man called out. He was heavy-set with scars across his face. We've all run from something. If we let Imperial cleaners operate here, none of us are safe. Besides, a woman added, we don't like bullies. Raina looked around the bar, humans mostly, but also a few aliens. A scarred veteran who'd lost an arm, a young woman who couldn't be more than 20, an old trader who looked like he'd never fired a gun in his life but held one now anyway. You don't even know me, Raina said. The heavy-set man shrugged. Don't need to. You came here looking for answers about your family. That's a good enough reason to help. That's human insanity, Raina whispered. Roger grinned. That's humanity, period. We're stupid about protecting people who need it. Outside, the cleaners were moving into position. Through the windows, Raina could see them. Armored figures with plasma rifles setting up to breach the building. David moved to the center of the room. Listen up. They're going to come through the front and back simultaneously. Ren, kill the lights on my mark. Everyone else, pick your targets and don't waste ammunition. These are professional soldiers, so don't do anything heroic and stupid. Just stupid? Someone asked. Just stupid is fine. We're good at that. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Fear? Yes, but also determination. These were people who'd been pushed around before. People who'd learned to push back. Raina drew her blade. The metal sang in the quiet. If we're doing this, we do it my way. I know how cleaners think. I was raised by Cathara. David looked at her, then nodded. Your show. They'll breach in exactly 90 seconds. Front and back doors. 2 through each door, 2 on the roof as snipers. Raina pointed. We need people on those windows. Shoot the snipers first. Without Overwatch, the ground team loses their advantage. Paul and another man moved to the windows. On it. The ones coming through the doors will use flash grenades. Close your eyes when you hear metal hit the floor. Count 3, then open them and fire low. They'll expect us to be blinded and disoriented. Raina smiled, and it wasn't a human expression. It was something predatory, something Cathara. They won't expect us to be ready. What about you? Roger asked. I'm going to do something really stupid. Raina moved toward the back door. I'm going to give them what they want. No, David started. Trust me. Raina looked at the 5 old men who might be her father. My mother trusted you. All of you. Let me trust you now. Before anyone could argue, the windows exploded inward. Glass rained down like deadly snow. The snipers were firing into the bar, not to kill yet, but to soften targets, to create panic. It was textbook cleaner tactics, but Paul and his partner were already firing back. 2 shots, precise and calculated. The sniper fire stopped. Through the broken windows, Raina heard bodies hit the roof. Snipers down, Paul called out. His voice was steady, calm, like this was just another day. The front door exploded inward. Charges perfectly placed. 2 armored figures came through the smoke, moving with mechanical precision. Behind them came the flash grenades, 2 silver spheres tumbling through the air. Raina's voice cut through the chaos. Close your eyes now. The bar went dark. Ren had killed the lights a second before the grenades detonated. The flash and bang were still brutal, but with eyes closed and ears prepared, the effect was manageable. Painful, but manageable. 3, Raina counted. The cleaners would be moving in now, expecting blind and deaf targets. 2, they'd be spreading out. Weapons up, searching for the hybrid. 1. Raina opened her eyes. Her Cathara vision adapted to darkness faster than human eyes. She could see the 2 cleaners clearly, their armor outlined in thermal signatures. Fire low, she commanded. 20 guns opened up. The bar became a storm of muzzle flashes and thunder. The patrons aimed for legs, for the gaps in armor where joints needed flexibility. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. The first cleaner went down hard, his knee shattered. The second managed to fire back, plasma bolts burning through table and wall. A woman screamed. Someone cursed. But then Roger's shot caught the cleaner in the helmet seal. The armored figure dropped like a puppet with cut strings. "Back door!" Raina shouted. She was already moving. The rear entrance burst open. 2 more cleaners moving in perfect synchronization. They saw Raina coming and focused on her. Exactly as she'd hoped. She dove low, faster than human reflexes, using Cathara combat techniques her mother had taught her. The plasma bolts passed through the space where she'd been. She rolled, came up inside their guard, and her blade sang. The first cleaner's armor turned the edge, but the impact staggered him. Raina followed with an elbow strike to the helmet, using Cathara strength behind the blow. The cleaner stumbled back. The second one grabbed her, trying to lock her in a hold. He was strong, trained, professional. But he'd trained to fight Cathara who fought like Cathara, or humans who fought like humans. Raina fought like something new. She dropped her weight, slipped the hold with human flexibility, then surged up with Cathara power. Her headbutt cracked the cleaner's faceplate. He released her, and Luis was there with a pipe he'd grabbed from behind the bar. The old engineer wasn't gentle. The pipe caught the cleaner across the helmet 3 times, fast and brutal. The armored figure went down. The first cleaner was recovering. Raina kicked his weapon away, then Paul shot him twice in the chest plate. The armor held, but the impact knocked the cleaner flat. "Anyone hurt?" David called out. "Rodriguez caught some shrapnel," someone answered. "Nothing fatal." "I'm fine," a woman's voice tight with pain. "Just mad about my jacket." Raina moved to the fallen cleaners. She kicked their weapons farther away, then pulled off their helmets. Young faces, Cathara features, scales, and military patterns. They looked at her with hatred and fear. "You should have stayed hidden," Abomination one spat. "I was hidden. You came looking for me." Raina's voice was cold. "You were going to kill everyone here just to erase evidence of me. You pollute the bloodline. You're a mistake that needs correction." Raina's claws extended. For a moment, she wanted to show them exactly how much of a mistake she was. She wanted to let the Cathara part of her nature do what it did best. David's hand on her shoulder stopped her. "Don't, you're better than that." "Am I?" Raina looked at the hatred in the young cleaner's eyes. "They want me dead. My own people want me erased." "They're not your people," Hideo said quietly. He was kneeling next to Rodriguez, treating the woman's wounds with sure hands. "Your people are the ones who just fought beside you. Species doesn't matter. Choice does." Outside, sirens wailed. The colony's security forces finally responding. They'd be too late to help, but they'd be in time for cleanup. Ren was already on the comm explaining the situation to the authorities. Self-defense. 6 Imperial cleaners tried to breach a civilian establishment. "We defended ourselves. Yes, there are casualties. All of them attackers. Send medical and cleanup crews." She closed the channel and looked at Raina. "You need to leave. When the authorities get here, they'll have to report this to the Cathara Empire. Diplomatic protocols. You'll be arrested and extradited." "I know." Raina looked around the bar. It was a disaster. Broken windows, scorched walls, bodies on the floor. "I'm sorry. I brought this here." "You brought excitement," the heavyset man said. He was reloading his weapon calmly, like this was just another evening. "First real fight we've had in months." "Besides," Rodriguez called out, her voice pained but steady, "we won. Against Imperial cleaners. That's a story worth telling." "Assuming anyone believes it," someone else muttered. Raina turned to the 5 veterans. "Thank you. For the stories about my mother. For fighting with me. But I need to go now." "Not yet," Luis said. "There's still more you need to hear." "Luis," David started. "No, she needs to know." Luis looked at Paul. "Tell her. About Haven's Ridge, about your mother's last days." Raina froze. "You knew her after the war?" "We found her," Paul said quietly. 3 years after the war ended. On Haven's Ridge, she had a child with her. A little girl with scales and human eyes. "Me," Raina whispered. "You." And she was running for her life. Paul's voice was flat, emotionless, the tone of someone reporting facts too painful for emotion. The Cathara traditionalists had found her. She'd hidden for 3 years, but they found her. The sirens were getting closer. Ren moved to the bar's back room, preparing an escape route. "We need to move," David said. "Paul, Luis, you can tell the rest in transit." "No," Raina said. "Tell me now, please." Paul and Luis exchanged glances. Then Luis nodded. "Your mother brought you to Haven's Ridge because she'd heard there were humans there. She thought maybe you'd be safer with your father's people than with the Cathara." Paul's voice roughened. "We were working security for a mining operation. Civilian work after the war. We saw her in the market, recognized her immediately. You knew who she was? We'd all served together. David had talked about her. Roger, too, after he finally admitted what happened. We'd seen pictures. Louise smiled sadly. She was hard to forget. She didn't trust us at first, Paul continued. But when the assassins came, when they attacked the market trying to get to her, we fought back. Protected her and you. You saved our lives, Raina said. We tried. Louise's voice broke. We got you both to a safe house. She stayed with us for 6 months. We became friends. Real friends. She told us about David's kindness, about Roger's bravery, about Hideo's compassion. She spoke of each of them with love. She never said which one was my father. She said all of them were in the ways that mattered. Paul looked at her. She said you were the daughter of humanity's best qualities, that you represented hope for a future where species didn't matter, only character. The sirens stopped outside. Doors slammed. Official voices called out orders. Time's up, Ren said from the back room. Move now or don't move at all. Finish it, Raina demanded. How did she die? Luis's eyes filled with tears. The assassins found us. A whole team, not just cleaners, but elite warriors. They attacked at night. Your mother fought like a demon, gave us time to get you out. She told us to find your father when you were old enough, to tell you the truth about who you were. She died buying me time to escape. Raina's voice was hollow. She died protecting what mattered most to her. Paul corrected. You. And the future you represented. David moved to Raina's side. Come with us. We'll get you off-world somewhere safe. There is no safe. Not for me. Raina looked at the 5 old men. But thank you. For the stories. For fighting. For caring about a mother you barely knew and a daughter you'd never met. We did more than barely know her, Roger said. And we're looking at you now. That makes you more than just a story. The front door opened. Colony security officers poured in, weapons drawn. They stopped short at the scene. 5 old men with rifles, a dozen armed patrons, 4 cleaners on the ground, dead or unconscious. And in the center, a hybrid woman who shouldn't exist. The lead officer, a woman with gray hair and hard eyes, looked around slowly. Someone want to explain this? Self-defense, David said calmly. Imperial cleaners attempted to murder a civilian. We intervened. You intervened against Cathara military personnel? They weren't military. They were assassins. Hideo gestured at the fallen cleaners. Check their armor. No unit markings. No identification. They were operating illegally. The officer's eyes narrowed. She looked at Raina. And you are? Someone looking for answers about her family. Raina's hand moved to her blade. Don't. The officer's voice was sharp. I've got 20 more officers outside, and if this turns into a fight, people will die. Innocent people, David stepped between them. Officer, we're willing to cooperate. But that woman is under our protection. Your protection? The officer laughed. You're 5 old men in a bar full of criminals. We're 5 old men who just killed 4 Imperial cleaners, Roger said mildly. Don't underestimate us. The officer studied them. The standoff stretched. Then she sighed. I don't have enough information to make arrests. This looks like self-defense to me. She looked at Raina. But you need to leave this colony. Tonight. Because when the Cathara Empire hears about this, they'll send more than cleaners. I understand. Raina moved toward the back room, toward Ren's escape route. Wait, Paul called out. He pulled something from his pocket. A data chip. Your mother recorded something before she died. She told us to give it to you when you were old enough. He held out the chip. Raina took it with shaking hands. There's one more thing you need to know, Louise said. About your father. About all of us. About why your mother chose what she chose. Later, the security officer snapped. Move now or I change my mind about the arrests. Raina looked at the 5 men one last time. Then she ran. The safe house was 3 miles outside the colony, hidden in rocky terrain where sensors couldn't penetrate easily. Ren had led Raina through service tunnels and maintenance corridors, paths known only to smugglers and people who valued privacy. The 5 veterans followed, moving surprisingly fast for men their age. Now they sat in a small room with concrete walls and a single flickering light. Ren had returned to the bar to handle the authorities. They were alone with their truth. Raina held the data chip in her clawed hand. It was old technology, scratched and worn. Her mother had held this. Her mother's last words were encoded in these circuits. "Before I play this," she said quietly, "I need to ask something. All of you loved my mother. All of you could be my father. Why didn't any of you try to find her after the war?" The silence that followed was heavy with regret. David spoke first. "I tried. I spent 5 years and most of my savings trying to find information about her. Every Cathara official I contacted refused to help. Every private investigator I hired came back empty. The ones who pushed too hard disappeared. I was told she'd been executed for treason. I believed it too," Roger added. "The Cathara don't forgive traitors. I thought helping me escape had gotten her killed. I lived with that guilt for years." "None of us knew she was alive," Hideo said. "None of us knew about you. If we had known, we would have moved heaven and earth to find you." "Would you?" Reina's voice was sharp. "Would you really have risked everything for a half-breed child?" "Yes." The answer came from all 5 men simultaneously. Luis leaned forward. "You think we're just old men telling stories. You think we're trying to make ourselves feel better about the past. But you're wrong. Your mother changed us, all of us. She showed us that the enemy wasn't some faceless monster. She was a person with hopes, fears, dreams. She made us better humans. She made us question everything we'd been told about the war," Paul added. "About who the real enemies were. About what we were fighting for." "Play the recording," David said gently. "Your mother's words will explain better than ours." Reina inserted the chip into her personal data pad. The device was old but functional, built to last. The screen flickered, then resolved into an image. Her mother's face. Shakara looked tired in the recording. Scales that should have gleamed were dull. Her eyes, so like Reina's own, held pain and determination in equal measure. Behind her, Reina could see a rough stone wall. The safe house on Haven's Ridge, probably. "My daughter." Shakara's voice was hoarse, speaking human standard with a thick accent. "If you are watching this, then I am dead. I am sorry I could not stay to raise you properly. I am sorry I could not protect you from the hatred that will come." Reina's claws dug into her palms. The other men sat silent, respectful. "You will want to know who your father is. This is natural. All children want to know where they come from." Shakara smiled sadly. "I cannot give you a simple answer because the truth is not simple." The recording flickered as Shakara shifted position. She was sitting on a bed, Reina realized. The same bed she'd slept in during those 6 months on Haven's Ridge. "I met 5 human men during the war. Each one showed me something different about humanity. Each one changed how I understood your species." Shakara counted on clawed fingers. "David showed me that humans value truth and honor even in wartime. That they can see enemies as people and still fight for what they believe is right. He treated me with respect when he had no reason to. He argued with me, challenged my beliefs, made me think in new ways. With him, I felt like an equal. Not an inferior or a superior, but simply another person seeking understanding." Roger's hand trembled slightly. He looked away. "Roger showed me that humans value life, even enemy life. He could have hated me for what my people did to his friends. Instead, he sang songs about rain and old love. He taught me that kindness in darkness matters more than strength in light. When I was with Roger, I learned that enemies can become friends, if they choose to see each other clearly." Reina looked at Roger. The old pilot's eyes were wet. "Hideo showed me that humans value knowledge and healing above politics. He risked everything to save lives, including Cathara lives. When I was dying, when you were dying inside me, he didn't see an enemy or an abomination. He saw a mother who loved her child. He saw a life worth saving. He made miracles happen because he refused to accept that some things are impossible." Hideo's face was expressionless, but his hands gripped his knees tightly. "Luis and Paul showed me that humans value loyalty and sacrifice. They protected us when they had no obligation to do so. They fought for us when it would have been easier to walk away. They became friends when the whole galaxy said friendship between our species was impossible. They proved that family is not about blood, but about choice and commitment." In the recording, Shakara's expression changed, became softer, more vulnerable. "One of these men is your biological father. The genetic data is stored with this recording, sealed and protected. You can open it if you wish. You can know which specific man gave you life." She paused. "But I ask you to consider something first." "Does it matter which one?" Reina's breath caught. "Biology is just cells and chemistry. What makes a father is not the moment of conception, but the moments after. The teaching, the protection, the love. Any of these men would be a good father to you." Each has qualities worth inheriting. Each represents the best of what humanity can be. Shakira looked directly at the camera, as if she could see Reyna across time and death. I am Cathara. We value purity, lineage, bloodlines. We believe that heritage determines worth. But humans taught me something different. They taught me that worth comes from choices, from actions, from who you choose to become rather than who you were born to be. The recording showed Shakira standing now, moving to a window. Reyna could see starlight behind her. You are hybrid, my daughter, both species and neither. The Cathara will call you abomination. They will hunt you. They will try to erase you from existence because you prove their ideology of purity is a lie. Shakira turned back to the camera. But you are not an abomination. You are proof that different peoples can create something beautiful together. You are hope for a future where species matters less than character. Tears ran down Reyna's scaled cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. When you find these 5 men, if you find them, tell them I forgive them for not finding me sooner. Tell them I understand. Tell them that knowing them made my life better, richer, fuller than any Cathara life could have been. Shakira's voice wavered. Tell them that I died happy, knowing I created something impossible, knowing I loved and was loved, knowing I brought hope into a galaxy that needs it desperately. The recording showed Shakira sitting again, looking exhausted. The genetic data is encoded with a passcode. If you want to know your biological father, the code is choice matters most. Use it or don't, but know this, my daughter. I deliberately made it difficult to find the answer because I wanted you to think about whether the answer matters. Shakira smiled. And for a moment she looked young and beautiful despite the exhaustion. You are my daughter. You are humanity's daughter. You are the future's daughter. Who gave you one strand of genetic code is less important than who you choose to become. Be strong, be kind. Be the bridge that I could not be. And remember that your mother loved you more than life itself. The recording ended. The screen went dark. For a long moment nobody spoke. The concrete room was silent except for the sound of breathing and the distant hum of generators. Reyna stared at the blank screen. The genetic data was there, encrypted. One phrase would unlock it. She would know which man was her biological father. The Cathara believe blood determines everything, she said quietly. They believe I'm corrupted because I'm mixed, impure, wrong. Humans don't think that way, David said. We're all mixed. All hybrids of different cultures, different beliefs, different genes. It's what makes us strong. Is it? Reyna looked at them. Because from where I sit, humans fight each other almost as much as they fight aliens. You have wars, prejudices, hatreds. We do, Hideo acknowledged. We're not perfect. We're messy and complicated and we make terrible mistakes. But we also learn. We change, we grow. The Cathara rigid purity will eventually destroy them. Human adaptability will help us survive. Reyna looked down at her datapad. The genetic information waited. One phrase. One answer. Do you want to know? Roger asked quietly. We won't judge you either way. I came all this way to find my father. I fought cleaners. I risked innocent lives. I watched people bleed because of me. Reyna's claws hovered over the screen, and now I'm afraid. Of what? Luis asked. Of the answer mattering too much, or not mattering at all. Reyna looked at the 5 men. If I find out which one of you is my biological father, does that make the others less important? Does it change the fact that all of you loved my mother? That all of you fought to protect me tonight? No, Paul said simply. It doesn't change anything except what you know. We'll still be 5 old men who cared about Shakira, who care about you. Reyna closed her eyes. She thought about her mother's words. About choice mattering more than birth. About family being what you make, not what you're given. She opened her eyes and looked at the datapad. At the encrypted file that held the answer to the question she'd traveled across the galaxy to ask. Then deliberately she deleted it. The file vanished. The genetic data erased. The answer gone forever. What did you just do? David's voice was shocked. I made a choice. Reyna looked at them. My mother was right. Biology is just chemistry. What makes a father is love, protection, teaching. All of you showed that tonight. All of you are my fathers in the ways that matter. But you'll never know, Roger protested. I know enough. Reyna stood. I know my mother loved all of you. I know you all loved her. I know that when a stranger came to your bar asking questions, you told her the truth even though it cost you. I know that when killers came, you fought beside me even though you didn't have to. That's more than most people ever get from their biological fathers. Luis wiped his eyes. Your mother would be proud. Maybe. Or maybe she'd call me a fool for throwing away information. Reyna smiled, and for the first time it was a real smile, warm and genuine. But I think she'd understand. She gave me the choice. I chose. Paul stood and extended his hand. Then we're family. Not by blood, but by choice. Reyna took his hand. Then David's, Roger's, Hideo's, Luis's. 5 old men with young hearts. 5 fathers who'd never known they had a daughter until she walked into their bar with a blade and a question. What now? Hideo asked. Now we get you off-world, David said. The Cathara will send more than cleaners next time. No. Reyna's voice was firm. Now I fight back. My mother died running. I won't. That's suicide, Roger said bluntly. That's living. Reyna looked at them. My mother said I should be a bridge, that I should prove different species can create something beautiful together. Running and hiding doesn't prove anything. Fighting back, showing that hybrids have the right to exist, that proves something. You can't fight the Cathara Empire alone, Luis said. Who said I'd be alone? Reyna gestured at them. I've got 5 fathers who just proved they can fight. I've got a bar full of people who stood up to cleaners. I've got proof that humans will protect the vulnerable even when it's inconvenient. She smiled. That's an army if we're smart about it. The 5 men looked at each other. A conversation passed between them in glances and nods, the kind of communication that came from years of serving together. We're too old for this, David said. We were too old 20 years ago, Roger countered. Your mother would definitely call us fools, Hideo added. Absolutely, Luis agreed. But we're going to do it anyway, Paul finished. David looked at Reyna. Welcome to the family. 6 months had passed since the night Reyna walked into the rusty comet with a blade and a question. 6 months since 4 cleaners died on the floor of that frontier bar. 6 months since she made the choice to delete the genetic data and claim 5 fathers instead of seeking one. The galaxy had noticed. News of the fight spread through underground networks and fringe colonies. A hybrid woman had stood against Imperial cleaners and won, not alone but surrounded by humans who chose to fight beside her. It was a small thing, a single bar fight on a backwater colony, but small things can start avalanches. Other hybrids started appearing. Not many, but enough. Children of forbidden relationships hidden for years, raised in shame and fear. They heard about Reyna, and they started asking questions, started demanding answers, started refusing to hide. The Cathara Empire responded predictably. More cleaners, more assassination attempts, more proclamations about purity and tradition. But something had shifted. The young Cathara, the ones who'd grown up after the war, they started asking why hybrids were such a threat. Started questioning the old ways, and humans, being humans, responded in the most human way possible. They started helping, smuggling hybrid children to safety, creating safe houses, building networks. It wasn't organized or official. It was just people doing what they thought was right, one choice at a time. Reyna stood on the observation deck of a small space station called Haven's Rest. It wasn't much, just a converted mining platform that had been abandoned when the ore ran out. But it had become something important, a refuge, a place where hybrids could come without fear. Behind her, the door opened. She didn't turn around. She knew the footsteps. The transport just docked, David said. 3 more families. 2 hybrids, 1 human father with a Cathara child. How bad? Reyna asked. The Cathara girl is 12. Her scales are wrong, not pure enough for the traditionalists. They were planning to euthanize her. David's voice was tight with anger. The father grabbed her and ran. Get them settled. Make sure the girl knows she's safe here. Reyna turned to face him.
How many does that make?
47 hybrids, 23 families, and about 60 humans who decided they'd rather live here than in a galaxy that kills children for being different. David smiled tiredly. We're going to need more space. Roger's working on that. He found 2 more abandoned stations in the sector. Both are salvageable. Reyna moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars. This is growing faster than I expected. You started something, daughter. Can't stop it now even if you wanted to. The word daughter still made Reyna smile. All 5 veterans used it now, comfortably and naturally. She had 5 fathers, and somehow that felt more right than having just one ever would. How's Luis doing with the school? she asked, better than expected. Turns out hybrid kids learn fast when you teach them they're not monsters. David joined her at the viewport. He's teaching engineering to anyone who'll listen. Paul's doing survival training. Hideo's running a medical program. Roger's got kids learning to pilot. It's becoming a real community. What about you? I'm teaching diplomacy. How to talk to people who hate you without hating them back. How to find common ground even when it seems impossible. David chuckled. 50 years of experience dealing with difficult people is finally useful. A young Cathara boy ran past in the corridor outside, chasing a human girl. Both were laughing. Neither seemed to care about the difference in their skin. Your mother would be proud, David said quietly. You think so? Raina watched the children disappear around a corner. I deleted the genetic data. I still don't know which of you is my biological father. Does it bother you? Sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder, would knowing make a difference? Would it change how I see myself? Raina shrugged. But then morning comes and I remember that it doesn't matter. You're all teaching me different things. I'm learning from all of you. What have we taught you? David asked. You taught me that truth matters even when it's complicated. Roger taught me that courage is helping people even when you're terrified. Hideo taught me that some rules need to be broken if you want to save lives. Luis taught me that building things is harder than destroying them but more important. Paul taught me that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stay quiet and watch carefully. David nodded slowly. And what has being human taught you? That nothing is simple. That purity is a lie. That family is something you choose, not something you're given. That the best parts of any species come from adapting, changing, growing. Raina smiled. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say no to easy answers. The Cathara Empire is calling us terrorists, David said. Did you hear? I heard. They're not entirely wrong. We're disrupting their perfect order. We're proving that their ideology is built on fear. Raina turned to face him fully. But we're not using violence unless they force us to. We're just existing, living, proving that hybrids are people, not abominations. The Empire won't accept that. No, but the young Cathara might. The ones who've never fought a war. The ones who are asking questions about why their government is so afraid of mixed children. Raina's eyes glowed in the dim light. Change takes time. My mother knew that. She didn't expect me to fix the galaxy. She just expected me to be a bridge. To show it's possible. Roger's voice came over the station intercom. Raina, we've got incoming, one ship. Cathara signature, but it's broadcasting civilian codes. Trap? David asked. Maybe. Or maybe someone looking for asylum. Raina headed for the command center. Either way, we respond. That's what we do. The command center was small, cramped, filled with salvaged equipment and improvised systems. Roger sat at the pilot's console. Hideo monitored communications. Luis watched the engineering readouts and Paul studied the security feeds. 5 old men running a space station like they'd been born to it. Ships holding position at the boundary. Roger reported. Single occupant. Cathara female, young. She's requesting permission to dock. What's she saying? Raina asked. Hideo adjusted the comm. A voice crackled through, speaking Cathara. Young, frightened, determined. She says she's fleeing the Empire. She says she wants to help. She says she's tired of the old ways and wants to learn the new ones. Hideo looked at Raina. She says she heard about the hybrid who claimed 5 fathers and wants to meet her. Raina felt something tight in her chest loosen. This was it. This was what her mother had hoped for. Not just hybrids finding refuge, but Cathara choosing to change. Let her dock. But carefully. Full security protocols. Raina looked at her fathers. If this is real, if pure Cathara are starting to question the Empire, then everything changes. And if it's a trap? Paul asked. Then we deal with it the way we always do. Together. The ship docked. Security teams, a mix of humans and hybrids trained by Paul, took positions. Everyone was armed, but nobody was pointing weapons. Yet the airlock cycled. The inner door opened. A Cathara woman stepped through. She was young, maybe 20 in human years. Her scales were perfect, traditional patterns marking her as high-born. She wore civilian clothes, but Raina could see the military bearing underneath. I am Shivera, the woman said in accented human standard. I come alone. I am unarmed. She spread her hands to show empty claws. I seek the hybrid called Raina. I'm Raina. She stepped forward. Why are you here? Because my sister is hybrid. The Empire took her 3 years ago for purification. Shivera's voice broke. They killed her. I watched them kill her because her scales were the wrong color. Because a human refugee my father helped years ago thanked him with love, and she was born from that love. The command center was silent. I am sorry, Reyna said. No one should die for existing. I thought it was right. I thought the Empire was protecting our species. I thought purity mattered. Shivera looked at Reyna with eyes that held too much pain. But then I heard about you. About a hybrid who refused to hide. About humans who fought cleaners to protect her. About a place where mixed children are taught they matter. This is that place, Reyna confirmed. I want to help. I have information about Imperial operations. I know where they're planning to strike next. I know which families they're targeting. Shivera pulled a data chip from her pocket. I stole this from my unit before I deserted. It cost 3 people their lives to get me out with it. David stepped forward. How do we know this isn't a trap? You don't, you can't. Shivera looked at him. But I am here, alone, unarmed. If you kill me, the Empire loses nothing. If you trust me, you gain intelligence that could save lives. The choice is yours. Reyna thought about choices. About her mother choosing to protect her child over her own safety. About 5 veterans choosing to fight cleaners for a stranger. About herself choosing to delete genetic data and claim all 5 men as fathers. We don't kill people for asking for help, Reyna said. She took the data chip. Welcome to Haven's Rest, Shivera. I hope you're ready for how strange things get when you stop pretending species matters more than character. Shivera's expression crumpled. Relief, grief, hope all mixed together. I am ready to learn. Over the next weeks, more came, not many. The Empire's grip was still strong, its propaganda still effective. But one by one, Cathara who questioned the old ways found their way to Haven's Rest. Some came seeking asylum. Others came offering information or resources. A few came just to see if the rumors were true. If hybrids really could build something instead of just surviving. The Empire responded with increased patrols and harsher punishments for anyone caught helping hybrids. But they couldn't stop the flow of refugees. They couldn't silence the questions that young Cathara were starting to ask. Reyna found herself becoming what her mother had hoped. A bridge. Someone who could speak both Cathara and human, who understood both cultures. Who could translate not just words but concepts and feelings. She taught Cathara refugees about human adaptability and creativity. She taught human residents about Cathara honor and discipline. She showed both that difference wasn't weakness, that mixing cultures created something stronger than either alone, and her 5 fathers taught alongside her. David showing Cathara refugees that humans valued truth and integrity. Roger demonstrating that courage came in many forms. Hideo proving that healing mattered more than heritage. Luis teaching that building was harder than destroying but infinitely more important. Paul showing that wisdom often meant listening more than speaking. 6 months became a year. The station grew. More refugees arrived. More families found safety. More young Cathara deserted the Empire, unable to justify killing children for being different. The Empire sent a fleet eventually. Not cleaners, but actual warships. 12 vessels heavily armed with orders to destroy Haven's Rest and everyone on it. Reyna stood in the command center, watching the fleet approach on sensors. Her 5 fathers stood with her. Around them, the station's residents prepared for battle or evacuation, depending on how the next hours went. We can't fight 12 warships, Roger said flatly. Our defense systems are improvised at best. We'd last maybe 20 minutes. Evacuation then, David said. We have enough transports to get everyone out if we start now. And go where? Reyna asked. They'll hunt us down. They always do. Then we stand and fight, Luis said. Go down swinging. No. Reyna's voice was calm. We do what humans do best. We improvise something impossible and hope it works. She opened a channel to the approaching fleet. Her face appeared on every screen, transmitted across open frequencies where anyone could intercept it. I am Reyna, daughter of Shkara. I know you've come to destroy us. To erase the evidence that Cathara and humans can create life together, instead of just death. She paused. But before you fire, I want you to know something. There are children here. 47 hybrid children who've done nothing wrong except be born. There are families here, both Cathara and human, who chose love over hatred. And there are young Cathara here who deserted your empire because they couldn't stomach killing innocents anymore. The fleet continued its approach, but Reyna noticed they hadn't armed weapons yet. You can destroy us. You have the firepower. But you can't destroy the idea we represent. You can't kill the question we're asking. Why does mixing species threaten you so much? What are you afraid of? Reyna's voice grew stronger. I think you're afraid that if people see we're not monsters, they'll start questioning everything else you've told them. They'll wonder why the Empire needs purity so badly. They'll realize that your control depends on fear. Hideo is monitoring frequencies. She's being broadcast across 40 systems. Someone's boosting our signal. The human networks, Paul said with a slight smile. They're making sure everyone hears this, Reyna continued. My mother died protecting me. She believed I could be a bridge between our peoples. She believed that understanding mattered more than purity. 5 human men loved her and all of them became my fathers. Not through biology, but through choice. Through teaching me, protecting me, showing me that family isn't about blood. It's about love and commitment. The fleet was close now. 2 minutes to weapons range. I know some of you are parents. I know some of you have children you'd die to protect. Look at your commanders and ask yourself, would you kill children to preserve an ideology? Would you murder families because they chose love? Is that the Cathara honor you were taught? On the sensors, the fleet formation wavered. Ships that had been moving in perfect synchronization were now slightly out of alignment. You're getting through to them, David whispered. Or they're preparing to fire, Roger countered. Reyna took a breath. I'm not asking you to desert. I'm not asking you to betray your people. I'm just asking you to choose. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to kill children, or you can choose to let them live. You can choose fear, or you can choose hope. You can choose to be the enemy my mother thought you were, or you can choose to be the people she hoped you could become. Silence on the comm channels. The fleet reached weapons range and held position. Then one ship broke formation. A smaller vessel, a frigate. It moved away from the others, broadcasting on an open channel. This is Captain Thalon of the frigate Wind's Edge. I will not fire on children. Court-martial me if you must, but I will not do this. Another ship moved. Then another. 4 vessels total broke from the fleet, refusing to advance. The flagship's commander finally spoke. His voice was old, hard, shaped by decades of service. This is Fleet Commander Vareth. You are all in violation of direct orders. Return to formation immediately. No, sir, Captain Thalon replied. Some orders are wrong. This is one of them. Reyna watched the sensors. 8 ships remained in attack formation. 4 had refused. The Empire fleet was fracturing in real time, broadcast across 40 systems for anyone to see. Commander Vareth, Reyna said. You can still fire. You have 8 ships. That's more than enough to destroy this station, but everyone will see you do it. Every Cathara in 40 systems will watch you murder children while your own captains refuse to follow orders. Is that the legacy you want? The silence stretched. Seconds became minutes. Then Fleet Commander Vareth spoke again, and his voice was tired. Infinitely tired. All ships. Stand down. Maintain position but do not advance, he paused. Reyna, daughter of Shakara. The Empire will not forget this. We will return. I know, Reyna said. But maybe next time more of your ships will refuse. Maybe the time after that all of them will. Change takes time, Commander. But it's happening whether you want it to or not. The channel closed. The fleet held position for another hour, as if the commander was hoping for new orders that would make the decision easier. Then slowly they withdrew. The command center erupted. People cheering, crying, laughing with relief. They'd survived. Somehow impossibly they'd survived. Reyna's legs gave out. She sat down hard, shaking. David caught her, steadied her. You did it, he said. You actually did it. We did it, Reyna corrected. All of us. Every person who chose to come here. Every human who decided hybrids deserved protection. Every Cathara who deserted rather than kill children. This wasn't me. This was everyone. Your mother was right about you, Hideo said. You are a bridge. Over the following months, the galaxy shifted. The footage of the fleet standoff spread everywhere. The image of Imperial ships refusing to fire on children became a symbol. Young Cathara started openly questioning the Empire's policies. Human colonies began offering asylum to hybrid families. The Empire cracked down harder in some places, but in others it began to fracture. Commanders who'd served honorably for decades found themselves unable to order the execution of children. Soldiers deserted. Entire units declared themselves neutral in the conflict between tradition and change. Haven's Rest grew into a small fleet of stations. Other refugees appeared in different sectors, inspired by what Reyna had built. The movement had no official name, no central leadership. It was just people making individual choices, one after another, until those choices became a tide. Reyna stood in the observation deck 2 years after she'd walked into the rusty comet. The view was different now. Instead of one salvage station, she could see 5, all connected by docking tubes and supply lines. Dozens of ships moved between them, bringing supplies, refugees, news. Her 5 fathers joined her. Older now, grayer, but still strong. Still teaching. Still protecting. Still being fathers to a daughter who'd chosen them as much as they'd chosen her. "I got a message today," Reyna said. "From Cathara High Council. Not the military. The civilian government." "What did they want?" David asked. "To talk. To negotiate. To discuss possible peace accords between the Empire and hybrid communities." Reyna smiled. "They didn't acknowledge we have a right to exist, but they're willing to discuss it. That's progress. Will you go?" Roger asked. "Yes, but not alone. I'm bringing representatives. Humans, Cathara, and hybrids. We'll face them together." Reyna looked at her fathers. "I want you there. All 5 of you. Because this started with you loving my mother. It should continue with you helping build what comes next." "We're not diplomats," Luis protested. "You're fathers. That's more important." Reyna turned from the viewport to face them. "My mother gave me a gift when she refused to name my biological father. She taught me that family is choice, that love is stronger than biology, that the future belongs to people who can see past their own prejudices and embrace something new." "She'd be proud of you," Paul said quietly. "She'd be proud of all of us," Reyna corrected. "Every hybrid who refused to hide, every human who chose to protect them, every Cathara who questioned orders. We're all building this together." Hideo smiled. "So what happens now?" "Now we keep building, keep teaching, keep showing that mixing species and cultures creates something stronger than either alone." Reyna looked out at the fleet of stations, at the ships moving between them, at the future taking shape before her eyes. "We keep being the bridge my mother hoped we'd become." "And if the Empire sends another fleet?" Roger asked. "Then we face it together, like family does." Reyna put her hand on the viewport, feeling the cold of space beyond. "My mother taught me that some things are worth fighting for. My fathers taught me how to fight smart instead of just fighting hard. Together we're teaching the galaxy that change is possible if you're brave enough to choose it." In the distance, a transport ship was arriving. More refugees, probably. More families seeking safety. More people choosing hope over fear. David put his hand on Reyna's shoulder. "Your mother named you well. Do you know what Reyna means in old Earth languages?" "No." "Queen, protector, someone who rules with wisdom rather than force." He smiled. "She knew what you'd become." Reyna thought about her mother's recording, about the choice Shakara had given her, about deciding that 5 fathers mattered more than knowing which one contributed genetic material. "I'm not a queen. I'm just someone trying to honor my mother's memory." "You're more than that," Roger said. "You're proof that the impossible is possible, that enemies can become family, that love is stronger than ideology." "We all are," Reyna said. "Every person in this station, every family we've helped, every young Cathara who chose conscience over orders. We're all proof." She looked at her 5 fathers, 5 old men who'd loved the same woman for different reasons and in different ways. 5 men who'd become family to a hybrid child they'd never known existed. "Thank you," she said simply. "For loving my mother, for accepting me, for teaching me that family isn't about where you come from, but about who stands beside you when everything else falls apart." "That's what fathers do," David said, and in that moment, standing in an observation deck on a salvaged station that had become a symbol of hope, Reyna understood what her mother had really given her. Not the mystery of genetic identity, but the certainty of chosen family. Not one father, but 5. Not a simple answer, but a complex truth. The galaxy was changing slowly and painfully, one choice at a time. And she was part of that change, along with everyone who'd decided that love mattered more than purity, that family was choice, not biology, that the future belonged to bridges, not walls. Her mother had asked who her father was. The answer had always been right in front of her. All 5 of them. Every human who'd ever chosen compassion over hatred. Every person who'd ever looked at someone different and seen family instead of enemy. That was the real lesson. That was what it meant to be human, to be Cathara, to be hybrid, to be alive in a galaxy that desperately needed to learn that differences could be strengths instead of weaknesses. Outside the viewport, stars burned in the darkness, and inside the station, children played without caring whether their scales were human bronze or Cathara emerald. The future was already here. It just needed time to spread. Raina smiled. Her mother would have liked this. 5 stubborn old men, 1 stubborn hybrid daughter, and a galaxy slowly learning that the best families are the ones you choose. Come on, she said to her fathers. We have work to do. The negotiations won't plan themselves, and there are 3 new families arriving in an hour who need to know they're safe here. The 5 men followed her out of the observation deck, back into the organized chaos of running a refuge station, back into the work of building something impossible, one day at a time. Behind them, through the viewport, the galaxy turned. Endless and indifferent and slowly, inevitably changing. Because that's what humans did best. They changed things. They adapted. They built bridges where others saw only walls. And they taught anyone willing to learn that family, real family, was always a choice. And sometimes the best choice was claiming 5 fathers instead of searching for one.